can select it at the bottom.
Yeah, I know where it is if I'm not presenting. So okay.
Okay.
Here and back. Yeah. Okay. I think then we can now start properly. Okay, yeah, welcome to this workshop project presentation. You probably already heard that we have this summer school in sort of two parts. One part is only the lectures, of which the core lectures finished today, but we will have guest lectures and special lectures tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. And the other part that starts tomorrow is our workshop. That's usually the part of the summer school when we had this in real life, was sort of the most entertaining for the students that took part in it. So this would be the own modeling projects that they could do and engage in. In this virtual form, it's of course still a practical thing, but not as engaging because we cannot talk to you all the time while you're doing it. But we hope to do a pretty similar thing tomorrow and the day after tomorrow using Zoom breakout rooms. And I hope you will find groups and also maybe meet someone new to do nice projects with one another. We present the workshops here in the whole summer school because there might be some people here who are not in the workshop because it actually takes some time to do it tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and there was also a limited number of participants. But we still want to engage everyone to try out these projects, and you can all find them. They are open on our webpage. I will show you where you can find them later. And even if you are not in the workshop and you're still interested in modeling those and you want to try it on your own, feel free to send us emails, and I'm sure we're glad to help you out if you have any questions there. So there are tutorials for these projects that should guide you step by step without our help. But of course, there might always be some misunderstanding, or our text is not the best or not foolproof at least. So there's a lot of room where we would like to help you. And so yeah, this is what this is all about. And we have actually different projects depending on the two software frameworks that we mainly use, which would be Cedar, which you saw yesterday, or Covina, which Gregor also showed in his brief presentation yesterday. And why we offer projects of these two types is usually interesting to you because it really depends on your background, which software framework suits you best. So in our experience, sort of, if you really want to model something, if you're having an engineering background and you want to model some behavior, then Cedar is usually the best place to start because you can get productive very quickly, and you can build entire architectures that will in the end do visual search and then maybe reaching, understand spatial language in a scene, or do even learning of sequences. While on the other hand, if you're having more of an experimental background and maybe you're a psychologist that works with MATLAB anyway, then Covina might be the better entry point for you. And here we prepared a project that builds around the Simon effect, which is very simple to sort of rebuild. And then once you understood how you can conduct experiments or collect model data for your experiments with Covina, then we also offer you to start your own project. Maybe you have something at home that you always wanted to model with DFT. That might be the perfect opportunity to do it now in the workshop. We might at least give you the starting points for that. So in the following short presentation, I will go over all of these projects in detail, adding a little bit info here and there. And the idea is always that for the workshop participants, you now look at these projects, and tomorrow we will ask you in which kind of project you want to go in the end. And according to the project that you like the most, we will put into a group with other people that also like this project, right? This way we randomize the groups a bit, and hopefully everyone will do something that they care for at the end, right? So the first project that is sort of mandatory if you choose the Cedar route would be visual search, because all our follow-up projects, they are connected to visual input, and therefore you need to make sense of the visual scene in some way. And the easiest way we do this here in the workshop is you get such a simplistic scene with multiple colored objects here, and the task that the visual search architecture here should solve is it should attend to objects that have a particular color. For example, if you have this input image and you then tell the architecture to attend the blue objects, it should form two peaks here, one for each blue object. You should be able to then also ask questions like attend the yellow object or attend the green objects or the red objects, and the corresponding peaks should then light up here. This architecture has not a lot of fields, But the new thing here, in contrast to the exercise from yesterday, is that you now have to deal with a 3-dimensional field actually. So instead of a 2-dimensional field that is about space, 1-dimensional space and color, you now have a 2-dimensional space, and then in the 3rd direction you have color. But this is all possible with Cedar, and we have a lot of introductory text here that should help you with that. If you then are interested in sort of extending this visual search and you want to ask the architecture more difficult questions, for example, one that used these relational phrases here, then the spatial language project might be the one where you want to sort of extend your visual search architecture. This is one of the sort of simpler versions of this spatial language architecture that also Gregor showed in the lecture yesterday. And here you would ask questions like, find a blue object that's to the left of a green object. And then, given the same scene as before, you would now not select this blue object, but this one, because the left blue object here is the only one that fits your description phrase here. And this extends sort of the visual search architecture by multiple fields, such as a target candidate field and a reference field. That would be one of the possible ways to extend visual search. The second possible way would be to use visual search to find reaching targets, right? That's something we do in our everyday life. You highlight some point in space, and then you want to reach for it, like a bottle of water, for example, right? And in this way, you use your previous spatial attention field that then finds, for example, your blue-colored ball, and use this as a representation of a reaching target. And the only bad thing about this project, although I like it a lot, is that currently it's only available under Windows with our newest implementation of Cedar, because we use this very old OpenGL simulator that's from around 2010 that's integrated in Cedar, and unfortunately it doesn't work under the newest Linux distributions or the newest Mac version. It might work under some Linux distributions. There we found out like nearly half of them worked. So if you are interested in the reaching project, at least someone in your group should have either a working Windows version, or maybe is lucky and has the right Linux version for that. But that's sort of still a straightforward way to sort of use the results of the visual search architecture to now in an integrated scenario where you will in the end move an arm to a target. Another more abstract scenario would be use visual search to learn a sequence and then be able to replay it. So the idea is here that you use the mechanism of visual search where you sort of attend to a color in a replay session. And before that, you learn a specific color sequence. So let's say we present the camera or the scene here, these 4 different colors. So first green, then blue, then yellow, and then red. And the task would then be to repeat this sequence that was shown through visually attending it, right? So then in a sort of test phase, after you learned this, you would present the camera 4 objects, and the task would then be that the color attention field then forms a peak first at the green region, then at the blue region, then at the yellow region, and last at the red region here. For that, you implement this kind of serial order system. It was probably also in the lecture of today. And the cool thing about this is actually that you could, for example, combine this with the reaching, right? So while this is a bit artificial that you attend to the colors in the right order, you could, for example, think about reaching for the colors in the right order, right? That would sort of combine the sequence learning project with the reaching project. Or you could even combine also reaching with the spatial language project, right? Because there you also get out the movement target. But again, unfortunately, only under Windows. These are the 3 Cedar projects, and the other project that we would then have is sort of the other branch, that would be Covina. Here, the idea is that you model the well-known Simon effect, right? That's an effect where people tend to react faster if there's a congruent stimulus. So here they have to sort of push 2 buttons, one on the left and one on the right-hand side. And the instruction might also appear on the left or right-hand side of the screen. And it is found sort of that people react faster if left really is on the left and right is on the right, rather than in this opposite case where the cue or instruction cue is really shown on the right-hand side. So there is a model already in DFT, and the idea was that you first rebuild this with Covina. For that, you need a little bit of programming experience, either from MATLAB or Python's, I think, similar enough. And then later you could think of something in which way you want to extend either the Simon effect here, or maybe also want to build your own experiment. Maybe you have an idea there. So this would be the MATLAB project, and pretty similar would also be one that I didn't introduce in the beginning, because we really added it last minute. That would be a dynamic field flow project. So that is sort of our newest implementation of DFT in the software framework. And here we are able to sort of use TensorFlow by building an architecture in code, which is similar to Covina, and then forwarding it as a computation graph to TensorFlow. And this way you can actually tune these field parameters depending on a cost function that you define, right? So maybe you want to build a peak only if the input is there for a given amount of time, and you don't want to tune these parameters by hand, but you want to try something out here with TensorFlow, then this would be the right project to start. And here Daniel, who actually built this whole thing by himself, offered to sort of do individual projects. And he will also talk about this tomorrow in the sort of welcome lecture of the workshop. So if you're interested in that, you probably need some background in Python, and ideally also a bit of ideas of machine learning. Then talk to Daniel, and he'll be surely offer you or discuss a project with you that might make sense to sort of do in the 2 days of the workshop. But we would still be interested if someone tries this out, because it's also very new for us. So these would be the not 4 projects, but 5 projects. So dynamic field flow, then the Simon effect, and then either sequence learning, reaching, or spatial language. And whichever you choose from the Cedar side, you will have to do a visual search first. And so the most important part is now, how can you actually, if you're not in the workshop, engage with these? If you go onto our website, under the documents section of the summer school, right, where you hopefully have been already, there you now find a new section called workshop. And here you find the exercise sheets for all of those. So if you click on these, you find sort of step-by-step introductions on what to do in this project and how to achieve the goals. So these should be self-sufficient in a way. And you find these explanations here for all projects except the DFF project, because that's a bit vague. And for Cedar, you also find template architectures from which you can start with, where we, for example, include the colored image here. And you should be able to just download these and open them with one of our Cedar versions. So if you're not in the workshop and interested in these projects, just try them out, write us mails. We will help you if you need help. But we also like to hear if everything went smoothly. So yeah, thanks for attending. If you have any questions right now, I'll gladly answer them already. But let me first stop this here. So yeah.
And so the selecting these will be tomorrow at 10, or how do you
tomorrow at 10 we'll have sort of the welcome for the workshop, and then we'll ask people to select projects and then form groups based on that.
Is that a problem for anyone to meet at 10 in our time zone? I think most of you are here, right? In close.
I've already heard from some people that it's not that easy.
Yeah.
So some people dropped out and would do it from the side, probably asynchronously. Yeah. But yeah, that's unfortunately the thing.
Offer some other slot, maybe in. Yeah. So you can then start communicating individually with us through either the discussion forum or send email if you have special needs, and we can just find someone who also comes at odd hours.
Yeah.
Within limits.
Yeah. Although we sometimes write and read emails very late, so might work out.
I would like to add a quick note regarding the dynamic field flow project. So the reason I didn't provide an exercise sheet is because I first wanted to know if there's even anyone interested in doing that. Depends on really if you want to do more of a machine learning project, or if you want to do something with a text-based, Python-based coding framework rather than a GUI-based Cedar project. If you're interested in that, it might make sense that you already write to me today so I can prepare myself better, because you already have to get started tomorrow. Yeah, so
your email address is also listed, right?
So if not, I can quickly show where to find me on the website.
Just put it here, yeah, or just put it.
Or I'll just write it in the chat now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you're muted.
Yeah, so this was basically just a first taste, and you don't have to decide right away, but tomorrow you will be asked to do so. So yeah, maybe look at these projects, maybe also at the explanations. They have been written by different people, so maybe some explanation styles suit you better than others, and so on. So that might make a difference in the end.
Good. Like, I'll look at it and we'll talk about that tomorrow. And so we'll meet again tomorrow for the special lectures at 3, same time, same channel. And that will be started by Raul on visual search. And I think Jana is the second, right? And then Mathis Richter will be showing up.
I think Daniel is the second, right? I'm on Friday.
Ah, yeah, so sorry, exactly. Daniel is the second. Yes, Daniel. Sorry. Yeah. So actually, Daniel, you probably